I don't look at the stars anymore. Not because I don't want to. That's the thing people don't understand when I try to explain it, which I've mostly stopped doing. It's not that I'm scared of the sky. No, yes, I am. It's that I'm scared of what I'll do if I see it. What I might recognize. What might recognize me back. I took the security job at the Harmon Research Station because I was broke, burned out, and desperately needed to be somewhere nobody could find me. A remote astrophysics facility in the mountains of New Mexico seemed perfect. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Good pay, free meals. Limited cell reception. I thought I'd stare at monitors for 8 hours, drink bad coffee, and maybe finally get some sleep for the first time since the divorce. I got 2 of those things. Sleep was never one of them. I found the listing on one of those weird job aggregator sites that scrapes postings from places you've never heard of. The description was sparse. Night security personnel needed for private research facility. No prior experience necessary. Must be comfortable with isolation. Must pass federal background check. The pay was almost double what a similar position would offer in a city. I applied on a Thursday, got a phone interview Friday, and was driving through the desert the following Wednesday. Should have been a red flag, how fast they moved. Good jobs don't sit empty. The facility itself was about 40 miles from the nearest town, which was really just a gas station and a post office that shared a parking lot. You had to drive up a mountain access road for another hour after that, switchbacks through pine forest until the trees thinned and the air got cold. Then you'd see it, a concrete structure half buried in the mountainside. A cluster of satellite dishes and antenna arrays pointed at the sky like question marks. Harmon Research Station, built in the 80s for some Cold War listening project, repurposed in the 90s for astrophysics. Most of the facility was underground 6 sublevels of labs, server rooms, and monitoring stations. The only surface structures were the main entrance bunker, some storage buildings, and the observation dome. The dome was the centerpiece. A 20-meter aperture housing a telescope array that could track objects most civilian equipment couldn't even detect. I never fully understood what the scientists were studying up there. Something about deep space signal analysis. Looking for patterns in cosmic background radiation. Listening to the void. I remember thinking how peaceful it sounded. Scientists listening to space. I imagined myself doing crossword puzzles on the night shift while brilliant people upstairs chased Nobel Prizes. That was before I met Dante, before I read the rules. Dante Reyes was my training officer. 53 years old, originally from El Paso, ex-military, but he never specified which branch. He'd worked security at Harmon for 8 years, which made him the longest tenured guard by a margin of 6 years. People didn't stay long. Most quit, he told me during my first patrol. We were walking the main corridor of Sublevel 2, which connected the dormitories to the monitoring stations. The walls were poured concrete, no windows, fluorescent lights that buzzed like dying insects. Few get transferred. Couple went somewhere else. What do you mean, somewhere else? He just shrugged. You'll figure it out. Dante wasn't unfriendly, just economical. He answered questions with the minimum required words and moved through the facility like he was trying not to disturb something. His footsteps were always soft. He never whistled or hummed, and he never, ever looked directly at the screens showing the telescope feed. Our job was straightforward on paper. Patrol the corridors on a set schedule, monitor the security cameras, check door seals on the restricted areas, make sure the 12 researchers on the night rotation didn't wander anywhere they shouldn't, log everything in the incident book. Most nights are quiet, Dante said. Boring. You'll drink a lot of coffee and count ceiling tiles. That's fine. That's a good shift. And bad shifts? He handed me a laminated card from his shirt pocket. About the size of an index card, typed text, slightly yellowed from age. Memorize this. Keep it on you. If you forget everything else I teach you, don't forget what's on that card. I turned it over in my hands. At the top, printed in bold, Night Security Protocol Harmon Station, effective immediately. Below that, numbered rules. There were 10 of them. I'm going to walk you through them because they're important. Because by the end, I'd broken 3 of them, and I watched what happened to people who broke the others. Rule 1. If the northern sky displays aurora activity not listed on the forecast board, located in the monitoring station, do not observe it directly. Log the time and retreat to sublevel 3 or lower. Wait for the all-clear announcement. Rule 2. Between 2 a.m. and 3:15 a.m., the main telescope array will calibrate automatically. Do not enter the observation dome during this window, even if you hear voices requesting assistance. Rule 3. If you receive a radio transmission on emergency frequency 121.5 MHz, that consists only of a repeated pattern. Do not acknowledge or respond. Switch off the receiver and note the duration in the incident log. Rule 4. Should more than 4 monitors in the monitoring station display the same image simultaneously, leave the room immediately. Wait exactly 10 minutes before re-entering. Rule 5. The backup generator activates automatically during power fluctuations. If it activates while the sky is clear and all systems show normal operation, proceed to the shelter corridor on sublevel 4. Remain there until the generator cycles off. Rule 6. Do not photograph, sketch, or otherwise record any light formation that appears to be moving toward the facility. This includes saving surveillance footage. Rule 7. If you observe a coworker standing motionless and staring upward for longer than 30 seconds, do not call their name. Approach from behind and place your hand firmly on their left shoulder. Wait for them to blink before speaking. Rule 8. The emergency klaxon sounds only for genuine emergencies. If you hear the klaxon but see no corresponding alert on the security panel, cover your ears and do not move from your current position until it stops. Rule 9. Section C on sublevel 3 is labeled as storage. Do not enter Section C after 11 p.m. unless directly instructed by Dr. Okonkwo or her documented successor. Rule 10. If the stars visible through any window, dome, aperture, or monitoring screen appear to shift into a recognizable pattern, constellation, letter, number, or face, close your eyes and count slowly to 60. Do not attempt to interpret the pattern. Do not describe it to anyone. I read them twice, then looked at Dante. Is this a joke? Do I look like a joke person? These are, radio patterns? Stars making faces? This sounds like a hazing thing. Dante stopped walking. We were outside the entrance to the observation dome. A heavy steel door with a circular window showing the dim interior beyond. He turned and looked at me, really looked, not the glancing acknowledgement he usually offered. First week, you'll think it's stupid. Second week, something will happen that makes you nervous. Third week, you'll understand why nobody stays longer than a year. Why do you stay? He was quiet for a moment. Someone has to, and I'm already on the list. What list? But he started walking again, and that was the end of that conversation. The first week was, admittedly, boring. I did my patrols. I checked doors. I sat in the monitoring station, watching 12 screens of empty hallways, equipment rooms, and a slice of black sky through the dome cameras. The researchers mostly ignored me. Dr. Okonkwo, a stern woman in her 60s who ran the night operations, gave me a curt nod when we passed. Everyone else treated security personnel like furniture. The only rule I came close to needing was Rule 7. It was the 4th night. I was doing a routine sweep of sublevel 2 when I found one of the grad students, a young guy named Tomas, standing in the middle of the hallway. Not walking, not leaning against a wall, just standing, head tilted back, staring at the ceiling. I almost called out to him. His name was on my tongue. Then I remembered. I walked around behind him, slow and quiet, and placed my hand on his left shoulder. Nothing happened for about 15 seconds. Then he blinked hard, like he was waking up from anesthesia, and looked at me with total confusion. What? What? Why are you? Where am I? Sub-level 2. You were just standing here. I was. He looked around, disoriented. I was in the data room, running an analysis. I don't. He rubbed his eyes. I don't remember walking out here. Are you okay? I think so. Yeah, just tired, I guess. He laughed nervously. Weird, sorry. He walked off, a little unsteady, and I stood there in the empty hallway, feeling the first cold trickle of something that wasn't quite fear. Not yet. More like the awareness that fear was waiting around the corner. When I told Dante about it during shift change, he just nodded. Good. You did it right. What was he staring at? The ceiling's just concrete. He wasn't staring at the ceiling. He was staring at what's above the ceiling. The sky? Dante pulled on his jacket. Something in it. Go get some sleep. The second week was worse. The first incident was the monitors. I was alone in the monitoring station around 1:30 a.m., scrolling through camera feeds when I noticed something wrong. Screens 5, 6, 7, and 8, 4 in a row, were all showing the same image. Not the same camera feed, the same image. A section of night sky, viewed from the dome camera, with a cluster of stars in an irregular pattern. I stared at it for about 3 seconds before the rule clicked in my brain. I was out of my chair and through the door in maybe 4 seconds. I stood in the corridor, heart pounding, watching my watch. 10 minutes. The rule said exactly 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes lasted forever. I could hear the hum of the facility around me, the distant thrum of equipment. Nothing else. No voices. No alarms. When I went back in, the screens were showing their normal feeds. Different cameras, different views. I logged it in the incident book. When I looked at previous entries, I found dozens of similar notes. 4 monitor synchronization event, 5 monitor sync. Once, someone had written, 8 monitors, all the same face, retreated for 10 minutes, normal upon return. I didn't sleep well that day. The radio transmission came 4 nights later. I was doing a perimeter check in the monitoring station when the emergency radio crackled to life. We kept it tuned to 121.5 megahertz, the international distress frequency in case of emergencies. It almost never picked up anything. We were too remote, too far from flight paths. But that night, it picked up something. At first, I thought it was static, that rhythmic, pulsing hiss of interference. But then I realized it had a structure. Pattern. 3 short bursts. 3 long. 3 short. Then silence. And again. Repeating. Over and over. I reached for the transmit button. My finger was actually on it when I stopped. Rule 3. Do not acknowledge or respond. I yanked my hand back like the radio was hot. I found the power switch and turned it off. The static died. The silence was almost worse. In the incident log, I noted the duration. The pattern had played for just over 4 minutes before I killed it. Dante found me in the break room an hour later, drinking coffee that was doing nothing for my nerves. You logged a 121.5 event, he said. Yeah. Did you respond? No. Almost. But no. He sat down across from me. Almost is too close. You understand that? Almost responding is the first step. Some of the people who used to work here, they didn't break rules all at once. They got close, they got curious, and then one night they slipped. What happens if you respond? Dante looked at the table. It knows you're there, specifically you, and then it doesn't stop. It? I don't know what it is. The researchers have theories. Exotic radiation. Some kind of deep space signal that interferes with human cognition. Dr. Okonkwo, thinks it's an intelligence. Something old, out past the heliopause, and we caught its attention when we started listening. That's insane? Is it? We point our biggest ears at the sky and broadcast signals for decades. We send probes with maps of our solar system. We beg the universe to notice us. He stood up. Well, something noticed. And now it knows where we are. The rules aren't superstition. They're containment. Every one of them exists because someone did the wrong thing and we learned from it. What happened to those people? Some of them are in Section C. I thought about the rule. Storage, not storage. Some of them? The rest went outside. We never found them. Just footprints walking toward the horizon. Middle of the night, straight line into the desert. I started reading the old incident logs. Hundreds of them, going back to 2003. The entries got worse the further back I went. There were references to contact events, where the signal, whatever it was, seemed to push harder. Nights where the aurora appeared, despite being 800 miles south of anywhere that gets aurora. Events where the telescope array recorded images that shouldn't have been possible. Mathematical sequences, geometric patterns, arrangements of stars that didn't match any known chart. One entry from 2011 stuck with me, written in handwriting shakier than the others. Subject C7 exposed to pattern 16 for approximately 40 seconds before we could terminate feed. Subject now non-responsive. Eyes damaged. Keeps repeating coordinates. Coordinates don't correspond to any known location. Moved to Section C for observation. There were 17 Section C subjects logged. Only 12 names had transferred or released next to them. 5 just said contained. Dr. Miriam Reyes arrived on my 3rd week. She was new to the facility, transferred from some university observatory in Chile. Young, ambitious, skeptical of anything she couldn't quantify. Within 2 days, she was openly mocking the security protocols. You actually believe this nonsense? She asked me, waving a copy of the rules. Don't look at aurora. Don't answer the radio. Don't enter the dome at certain times. It's pathological. It's institutional paranoia disguised as procedure. I've seen some things that make me think you've seen equipment malfunctions and confirmation bias. This facility has been underfunded for years. Half the electronics are older than I am. When you're isolated and tired and staring at screens all night, your brain finds patterns. That's all this is. I didn't argue. Some people have to learn the hard way. Her lesson came on a Thursday night. I was in the monitoring station when I noticed her on the sublevel 1 corridor camera walking toward the surface access. She had a camera bag over her shoulder. I grabbed my radio. Dr. Reyes, where are you headed? Outside. We've got an unusual formation over the northern ridge. I want to photograph it. My blood went cold. Dr. Reyes, I need you to stop. There's an unscheduled aurora event. You need to... It's not aurora. It's a light pattern. Probably atmospheric reflection. And I'm not letting another research opportunity pass because of some guards' ghost stories. The line clicked off. I ran. By the time I reached the surface exit, she was already outside, standing in the gravel yard between the bunker and the observation dome. Her camera was raised. The sky above the northern ridge was wrong. I don't know how else to describe it. The stars in that section weren't where they were supposed to be. They'd moved, drifted, rearranged themselves into something that looked almost like an eye. A massive, patient eye made of pinprick lights, and at its center was a darkness that seemed to pulse. Dr. Reyes was photographing it. Stop, I grabbed her arm. You have to stop. Get off me. And then she looked at me. Her face was slack. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't behind them anymore. I could see the reflection of that eye in her pupils, and for one horrible second, I saw it too. The pattern, the arrangement, the face that was waiting to be acknowledged. I looked away. I counted. I dragged her inside by her coat. When I hit 60, I opened my eyes. She was on the floor of the airlock, convulsing. Her camera was still in her hands, but the lens had cracked somehow. When the medics came, they said her retinas showed signs of damage consistent with looking at an eclipse without protection. She never recovered fully. Last I heard, she was in a long-term care facility in Albuquerque. Still talks about coordinates. Still traces patterns in the air with her fingers. They added her camera to Section C. I should have quit then. I know that. Any reasonable person would have walked away, taken the loss, found a normal job in a normal place where the sky was just the sky. But I stayed. I told myself it was the money. That was a lie. The truth was, I understood something now. The rules weren't just protection. They were a language. A way of saying we see you, but we refuse to engage. And as long as we kept that discipline, the thing out there, whatever it was, couldn't fully reach us. I wanted to understand it. Maybe even find a way to stop it. That was my mistake. The final event happened on a night in late October. I was on shift with Dante. Normal patrol, normal night. The sky was clear. The equipment was running smooth, and the forecast board showed no unusual activity. At 2:47 a.m., the backup generator kicked on. The lights flickered once, then stabilized. I looked at Dante across the monitoring station. "Power's fine," he said, checking the panel. No fluctuations logged. We both looked at the window feed. Clear sky. Stars where they should be. Systems nominal. Rule 5. Generator activation with clear sky and normal systems. Proceed to shelter corridor. We moved fast. The shelter corridor was on sublevel 4, a reinforced section originally designed for radiation emergencies. No windows, no screens, thick concrete walls. We were halfway down the stairs when the klaxon started. The sound was wrong. It had that industrial wail the emergency system always made, but underneath it, I could hear something else. A pattern, a rhythm, almost like speech compressed into frequencies the human ear could barely register. Dante grabbed my arm. Rule 8, don't move. I covered my ears. The sound went on for what felt like hours. 3 minutes, according to my watch. When it stopped, the silence was absolute. We waited another minute, then carefully made our way back up. The monitoring station was empty, but every screen was displaying the same image, not the eye this time. A face, a human face, but stretched and wrong, made of rearranged stars, and it was smiling. I looked away immediately, counted to 60. When I opened my eyes, the screens were dark, all of them, except one, the dome camera. The observation dome was open. Its aperture was pointed directly at the formation in the sky. And standing at the base of the telescope, silhouetted against the starlight, was Dr. Okonkwo. She wasn't moving. She was staring up. "Stay here," Dante said. You'll what?" "Rule 2. It's in the calibration window. We can't go in there. Someone has to get her. Then we both go." It was 2:51 a.m. We had 24 minutes until the window closed. We ran. The dome was cold. Not normal cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes you think of vacuum. Of the space between stars. Dr. Okonkwo stood at the telescope's base, arms at her sides, face tilted toward the open aperture. Above her, through the gap in the dome, I could see the sky. It had changed. Every star I could see had moved. They were forming something, a pattern so vast it filled my entire field of vision. Not a face this time, a sequence. Numbers, maybe, or instructions. Something that wanted to be read. "Don't look," Dante hissed. He was approaching Okonkwo from behind. I kept my eyes on the floor, the equipment. Anything but up. But the pattern was in my peripheral vision, crawling at the edges, trying to get me to turn and acknowledge it. Dante reached Okonkwo, put his hand on her left shoulder. Nothing happened. "She's not responding," he said. "She's been staring too long. And then Dr. Okonkwo spoke, but it wasn't her voice. It was something using her vocal cords like an instrument, producing sounds that approximated words without understanding them. "You looked in the yard. You saw the face. You counted, but you looked first. It knows you now. It's been waiting for you to look again." She turned. Her eyes were gone, just dark spaces where the light fell in and didn't come back out. The sky remembers, and the sky is patient. Dante tackled me out of the way as she lunged. I don't know what she would have done if she'd reached me. I don't want to know. We scrambled for the manual controls while she stood there, swaying, speaking in that not voice about coordinates and patterns in a meeting that was coming. The dome controls were at the base of the wall. A simple panel, close aperture, lock telescope, kill power to the array. I didn't hesitate. The dome began to close. The slice of sky narrowed, and as it did, I heard something, not with my ears, with something deeper. A sound that wasn't a sound. Disappointment, anger, a promise. I see you. The dome sealed. The power to the array died. The screens went dark. Dr. Okonkwo collapsed. When the medics reached her, she was breathing but unresponsive. Her eyes were damaged beyond repair. She's in Section C now, the 17th name on the list. I quit 2 weeks later. Dante understood. "You looked," he said. "Once you look, even for a second, it doesn't let go. Better you're somewhere you can't see it clearly." I moved to downtown Phoenix. Brightest city I could afford. Light pollution so thick, you can barely see a dozen stars on the clearest night. I keep the curtains closed anyway. The rules card is still in my wallet. I don't need it. I've memorized them, but I like having it there. A reminder that discipline is the only wall between us and something that wants to be seen. Some nights, I wake up at exactly 2 a.m. I'll be standing at the window, curtain pulled aside, staring at the sky before I even realize I'm awake. I don't know how long I've been there. I don't know what I was looking at. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes I catch myself doing it during the day too, tilting my head back, eyes drifting upward, watching the clouds for patterns. I always stop. I always count. But it takes a little longer each time. The thing in the sky is patient. It has been watching for billions of years. It can wait a few more decades for me to slip. And one night I think I will. I'll forget to count. I'll see the pattern form, and I'll finally understand what it's been trying to tell me, what it's been trying to tell all of us. I just hope, when that night comes, I'm somewhere no one else can see me staring. Because you don't want to know what happens when someone answers the sky.